Hey everybody, welcome in. Hope everybody's doing good, and I hope you guys can hear me okay. I'll wait for this thing to pop, and normally it comes on with a few seconds. Not a hype day, but it's a day where a lot of you are concerned. And I call this typically, this is what I call FOMO times. And when people are kind of freaking out saying, oh, did I miss the boat? Should I have FOMO in now, etc.? And it's a really hard question to answer, but let me just give you guys all a quick unscheduled State of the Union as far as I'm concerned. So hope everybody's doing good. This is called Quick Crypto Market Update. And by the way, I haven't been asking for likes or subscriptions in a long time. I just don't do that. I'm hoping you're all smart enough to just subscribe to the best quality news out there. So, but if you do like it and subscribe, it gets the word out to others. And this is really a transformational revolution of our time. So big thank you for being here. And of course, disclaimer, none of this is investment advice. But let's talk about exactly what's going on. I know many of you have a lot of questions. I know I'm completely peppered. So we all know that shorts got completely liquidated yesterday. $120 million worth of shorts in just a little over an hour, which is part of the reason why it's spiking. But it's more than that. You've heard me talk for months now, since March, April, May, June. I said all the money's coming in July because I heard a lot of stuff from different people and different sources, and I knew the big money was mobilizing to get in, and that's happening. And then we have Amazon happening. Amazon are going to accept Bitcoin as payment for all their merchandise. Biggest retailer in the world by far. I mean, craziness. So we have a plethora of good news. We also, coincidentally, all the FUD is going away. Remember all the stuff about, ESG, mining is not environmentally friendly? Gone. 56% of mining now uses renewables. China controls the mining, centralized. Gone. And now there's nothing but goodness ahead. Clear skies. So, quick question came in. Well, how are you, buddy? James, what we need is trustworthy insight into USDT FUD and why skeptics say it will crash crypto. Yes, I'm working on that actually. My point of view regarding Tether. Great question. A lot of people are concerned, and we have a video coming out on that. But the point is, Tether is less than 10% of the Bitcoin market cap. Okay, even if it blows up, it'll be a 10% headache. But remember, not all Tether is in Bitcoin. And everybody knows for years that something is up with Tether. So I don't think it's going to crash the market. But let's get back to business here for a second. I'll come back to that afterwards. So 100 million, say a prayer for all those shorts. They got raked over the coals yesterday. Now, YouTube bears, all of a sudden, and you know who they are, all the people on YouTube and Twitter and everything else, they've all suddenly overnight turned bullish again. And they said, oh, we're going down to 20,000. Oh, I see 25,000. We're going to tank. Stick with people who stick to the same narrative, not people who flip-flop, because you can't make money or achieve financial freedom that way, okay? Know the big picture, stick to your thesis, and follow it. So watch out for that. Not throwing anybody under the bus, and you know who they are. Now, the really great news, part of the thing I wanted to share with everybody today is stock to flow is back. So I don't know if you guys can see that, but basically we were on the edge of the lower channel of the stock to flow model. The bounce of 34, 35, 36% over the last 5 days has taken us back deep in the channel. Now, I spoke about this actually a few days ago, that even with traditional markets, palladium, silver, gold, stock to flow is invalidated all the time. Bitcoin is back, baby. I don't know if that's an Arnold Schwarzenegger thing or whatever, but we'll see. So that's really good news, and I can't contain my excitement because, again, I was never concerned we were going to leave the stock to flow. It is the most accurate model. It's based on supply and demand. And of course it's going to work because the world is driven by supply and demand. How can it be invalidated? So let's jump a little bit further and talk for a second about this piece of good news. So Charlie Lee, he sees Bitcoin at $1 to $2 million in the next 10 to 15 years. Not a big deal. It's a bit of a vague estimate. You know, with the way the money printing is happening right now, and I covered it yesterday in yesterday's video, $1 million Bitcoin, when the money printing is 50% year over year and the money supply, the Fed balance sheet, etc., of course it's going to be $1 million because every time you add, say, 20% to the money supply, you are debasing the currency gradually by 20%. and it'll catch up over time. So that's just what's going to happen. So basically, even if Bitcoin does go to $1 million at 20% debasement, it's only going to be worth $200,000 in real purchasing power. So it's completely achievable. So anyway, Charlie, thank you for that. 1 to 2 million, 10 to 15 years. Try to be a little more precise next time. Why don't you say like 2030 guaranteed $809,000 by 2030? That's the type of stuff I do. Anyway, thanks, Charlie. Now let's look at the chart for a second. Key level now. This is a bit of the reality I just want to set in with you all here and make sure you know what's going on. So I kind of put this chart together. I hope it's visual. Sometimes people say if they're on the cell phone or something, they can't see exactly what I'm doing. But this is a little bit of an eye chart here. But you can see that we need to get above that green line. This will help validate many things and invalidate other things. Things like the traditional head and shoulders pattern that all the bears that I spoke about at the beginning said, oh, it's a head and shoulders pattern. We're going to 15,000. We're going to 20,000. Or we're going to be flat for the next 3 months. You can't. When you look at the macro backdrop, it can't be flat or it can't go down. Or people listen to Scott Miner from Guggenheim, can't go down. But the critical level here, though, is 41,522 by my calculations. Once we get above that, it's off to the races. All the shorts will be completely squeezed and eliminated. And that's also the level probably where the big money is waiting to get in to the market. Now, believe it or not, this is kind of a weird thing and it doesn't make sense. But a lot of people wait for a thesis to be validated. So rather than buying Bitcoin at $29,000 5 days ago, they wait. They want to see it achieve a support level that's beyond previous resistance, like 41,500. Then they'll come in and buy. Doesn't make sense, but that's just the way the cookie crumbles sometimes. So that's that chart. So keep a close eye out for 41,500. In fact, if I look at the numbers right now, we broke through 40,000. Bitcoin went up to 40,593, nearly 40,600, which is nice. But here it's tanking again. That's what happens. Nothing goes straight up. Everything happens in cycles. So we're in the middle of one of those now. So that's this 41.5 level. We got within $900 of it. So hopefully we can get across that sometime by the end of this month, maybe even sooner. Now, also another thing to bear in mind is the short sellers will continue to short sell. So you have this category of investors. These are like perma bears. They got raked yesterday. But you know what? Their DNA tells them they need to go back and make their money back. So they're going to start shorting again. And we'll monitor that very carefully when people get into Ethereum short positions, Bitcoin short positions, to try and recoup their money. Because they may think, oh, we're not going to get above 41,500. Therefore, let's play this back down to 30,000. Again, I don't see that happening unless there's a big stock market crash or another gray swan event or something else. But again, there's simply just too much goodness out there that I've been talking about. And I think a week or two ago, I analyzed 20 of my top favorite Bitcoin indicators. I couldn't find a bearish signal anywhere. So let's talk a little bit about a little bit of macro stuff here. I don't want to bore you to death with this, but it's important that we look at. So this is the 10-year bond rate. It's called the TNX or 10-year Treasury. It has many, many different names. Now, why this is important is because the 10-year is tied to things like home loans, auto loans, etc. Sometimes even savings accounts, but nobody gets 2% or 1% or 1.2% on their money anymore. But the key thing here is the Treasury really, they issue the government's debt, and the Federal Reserve, the Fed, buys the debt with the debt that they've issued. And for the Fed, that debt is the dollar. Yep, you're right. See, it's kind of a big circular thing. And that's the point to get here is I'm convinced the Fed has painted themselves into a box. They have to continue money printing to continue the lifeblood. And I touched on that in a video a few days ago, that the tax base and the people that pay all the taxes in places like the US and Europe, their revenue comes from the stock market. So they have to continue printing money to continue to fuel the stock market because the stock market is everything to the US economy. That's where all the money is made and lost. And the entire system that's out there exists to pump the stock market higher. That's why I had many debates with people online, etc. People say, oh, Michael Burry is saying the biggest crash of our time is coming. Not while there's so much money slushing around in the system. Again, the money rises the tides and brings everything up. So that's just a quick point. Keep a close eye on that. But right now, the 10-year Treasury is tanking, which means the value of bonds and everything else is going to hell. So everybody will start going to Bitcoin if they haven't already. Now, this is a quick update. Many of you asked what's going on with my retiring crypto portfolio. This is the portfolio we got into on June 22nd. We published it within Patreon and all the purchases. But the good news is everything is now in the green. Nothing is underwater. We had a couple of names that had a little bit of weakness. They were Polkadot, Polygon, and Avalanche. They were down in the red for a little while, but now everything is in the green. Now, the key thing is this whole portfolio is up 35.5% since it began. And it shows you that money can be made with a portfolio that's well structured and optimized. So the portfolio has gone from 50K up to 81,000 just in 4 weeks. And again, you got to keep dancing. You got to hold good names that rise. The other interesting thing about this portfolio is you can see some of the returns on certain names. You got Bitcoin up 36.95%, Ethereum 37%, etc. You got Aave 83%. That's been crazy. And even some of the laggards that are just beginning to come back. Chainlink had a huge day today, so you just got to wait. Not everything goes at the same time. Some things are slow to move. But again, when you're building a portfolio, have quality names in there. Don't start buying something that's ranked number 167 in CoinMarketCap because you're playing with fire. There's a reason they're cheap. It's not that they're bargains. They're cheap for a reason. So think about that, everybody. Now, I want to talk about one final thing. Tesla earnings coming out at the bell today in about 19 minutes. I'll be looking, well, it's normally 5 minutes after the hour, so we'll see. Now, the important thing to note here, and I'm a big Tesla bull, 3/4 of the time, sometimes even 80% of the time, Tesla falls after earnings. It has what's called a pre-earnings run-up because people anticipate good news. Now, what could happen here, I do believe the estimates for earnings are quite low. I do believe Tesla will beat earnings, but the problem is it's already had that pre-earnings run up. It's up $16 today, up to about $6.60. So we'll see where it goes. So be very careful. But the other thing I do want to note here is you can see this funnel narrowing. So something's got to give. Just like I said about Bitcoin a few weeks ago, it wouldn't surprise me if we did break out to the upside. I do believe Tesla margins will be more positive than before. And I am hugely bullish on this company. People debate me, argue with me all the time, and people hate Elon Musk, but that's kind of their prerogative. But again, extremely bullish on Tesla. I think the margins will be good. The revenues numbers are insane. You walk into any Tesla dealership today, you cannot get a Tesla for love nor money. Cybertrucks have 1.2 million in backlogged orders. This car has never been on the streets. Nobody's ever seen it except for on YouTube or something, or some Saturday Night Live show. That's just incredible. Even if half of those orders cancel, this will be the number one selling truck in the world. And the other thing that I say to people say, oh, well, it's not really practical for people that use trucks. No, it's not. But that's not the market. The market is for people who have never bought trucks before, like me. I've never had a pickup truck in my life. This will be my first. So very excited. Anyway, I'll open up to Q&A. I hope you guys are doing good. Let me pop this up. Make sure you guys can see. And I will switch camera. And I'll take a couple of quick questions. I've got to do engine later today, so I've got to get back to work real fast. But I just wanted to give you guys that update. People who are FOMOing in now, what they should do. I'm saying that level is very high for people that I saw my answers to questions over the last couple of days. I said 35K is a critical level. If you're DCAing in, if it spikes above 35, put all your allocation in there because it's not going to come back down, at least for an interim period. Anyway, that's where we are. Let's see if we have any questions in the box. And thank you all for being here. Let me see. Hope this is still working. Yes, it is. Okay, I got a couple of super chats. Sometimes I can't keep track of them, so let me try get on. Hopefully I didn't miss anything. Kawalia, got your question. Thank you so much for that. Dave Pulitzer, and we have been listening. Good man. Yes. The Mortgage Brothers team. Hey, Mortgage Brothers. Hey, James. 2 questions for you. The set date that all Bitcoin will be mined? Yes, there is. The year 2140. And anybody who asks a question about what happens when Bitcoin is all fully mined, it's real simple. Miners will get transaction fees for running the network. But to be honest, if you're worried about what's happening in the year 2140, you should be worrying about different things because we have bigger things to worry about over the next 120 years. And the question is, what happens how with transactions be processed if the miners are not incentivized. They will be. And remember, the protocol can always be changed and tweaked to incentivize them more if they feel there aren't getting enough miners in the network. So that's not a problem. Again, and also you got to remember, they get a share of every transaction. That's the beauty of how this whole thing is built. As the price of Bitcoin goes up, they make more money. Miners are now making tons and tons of money. We got people in Belgium. Wonderful. So again, people don't worry about what happens when all the coins are mined. Bigger issues. Lowhoff 95, good to see you again. Do you have any details on the Canadian ETFs? Were they successful with large numbers buying in? Yes, the most successful one is the Galaxy one. It's called BTCX or XBTC, I think it is. And that's been the most successful. But you got to remember as well, a lot of Americans, for example, are reticent to buy ETFs in Canada. Even stocks in Canada, only some will buy. So the money flows will be nothing like the money flows that typically would happen if there was a US ETF for Bitcoin. So great question. I was actually impressed with some of the Canadian ETFs for Ethereum. They actually raised quite a bit of money, but again, it's nothing compared to what would happen once they launch an ETF in the United States and other places. So hang tight for that. David Fulton, blessings. The work could use deep dive and AMP. I know you'll see the amazing layers into this project. We are going to look. We're doing, again, as I mentioned, we're going to do Engine today. And then we'll try get AMP and Elrond and all the other things. There's so much that you guys want to hear about. We're also going to do more stuff with equities. I mean, people always ask me, so why do you buy MicroStrategy? Is it better to buy an ETF? Well, MicroStrategy went up $150 today, 28%. That's why I swing trade MicroStrategy. It is absolutely the most incredible asset I've ever traded in my entire life. And I've been making money from it since 2020. So, that's why you don't see ETFs going up 27%, but you see volatile stocks. And if you know how to play them and time them, it can be very lucrative. So Pasta Cleary, interesting name. Did you load up on Polygon last week? The founder Sandeep teased on Twitter over the weekend, Polygon finalized something more profound than the transition from Matic to Polygon. I didn't actually. I didn't add load up on Polygon because I've been on the receiving end of a lot of FUD saying the whole management team is very shady and Polygon's garbage and EIP 1559 is going to kill it. Not my thesis, but it gave me enough pause not to double down when it was so cheap. So I'm still holding, haven't sold any. We'll dig in. And that's why I always emphasize and stress when you have something like a crypto portfolio, remember crypto is the Wild West, extremely volatile. Look at the returns just in the past couple of days. With a lot of return comes a lot of risk. And these protocols change from day to day. So you got to keep your tap dancing shoes on. And remember, don't get wedded to any project. Once something goes down, get out. So that's the way I was with things like BNB and Binance. And a few other names. So big thank you for the question. Kiwi Robin, good to see you, buddy. Super chats to DCA for our furry friends. Thank you so much. And Kiwi Robin, I owe you for all that you do, buddy. So I'll find a way to repay you. Trust me. Horatio, Jeffia, great work. Thank you so much for being here. That is Mr. 3 in Ford. Hard to read that. We are now officially a Bitcoin family. No one of us has a whole Bitcoin, but put together we have 1.2, 4 of us. Excellent. Great, great, great. I heard a beautiful story today of a father and son. His son was 12 and they invested in GBTC and I think it was MicroStrategy and Tesla, and they made their first big gains and the 12-year-old boy is loving it. Yes, and from El Cid, Link is screaming up. A lot of people questioned why I had Link so high on my token heat map that I shared on Patreon. That caused so many questions. About 100 people were confused by my heat map. But what I try and do is I'm a very visual person, and I like to put as much data and information as I can on one page. And the best way I can do it is things like colors and numbers and charts and matrices. But people were so confused why Chainlink. Because of DeFi and Chainlink is everywhere. They're just everywhere. So let's actually see what Chainlink is doing right now as we speak. Chainlink. Oh, yeah. Oh, no, it just tanked. It did scream up. It went up to nearly 20 and then came back down. I hope you didn't curse it. Somebody said yesterday, if you look at something, it's going to go down. Don't look at it. Sometimes it's good to turn away. So well done, Mr. Inford, being a Bitcoin family. Hilarion Castro. James, your edutainment is very edutaining. Good. I hope everybody's enjoying it. And I hope everybody is staying really safe. Air to the Ron. If you have a chance to look at AMP, since Amazon's going to use it. We don't know if that's true yet, if Amazon's going to use AMP. It is kind of funny that AMP and AMZ are kind of similar, but I haven't been able to find a source that proves that yet. And I do know Amazon are looking at many ways of basically bringing on Bitcoin for payments, but we'll see how it all turns out. Again, don't put all your eggs in the AMP basket until this is actually ratified, and we'll see. So let me see if there's any other quick questions. Rob K. Thrasher UK, the whole team is in here, so let's do Thrasher first. Thanks for your insight and reassurance over the mini bear market. Yes, 8 weeks of hell for many of you, and thank you all for keeping the faith. I mean, it does, like, you don't even have to try very hard to convince people to hold Bitcoin. Just look at what your central banks are doing and ask yourself, do you want to be part of that, or do you want to be part of the new world order? So I'll be joining Patreon on the 1st. Awesome. Look forward to seeing you in there, Thrasher. And thank you as well for all your support. We'll make you whole. What's your number one after Ethereum? It's Chainlink right now, actually, Thrasher UK. So great question. And you'll see all my portfolios and how we manage them and how we optimize them as well once you come into Patreon. So look forward to seeing you in there. Rob K. Hello, James. In your retirement plan, I believe you mentioned inflation of 6%. How does this figure compare to the approximately 15% of Michael Saylor? So the retirement plan takes into 6% inflation from the year 2030 onwards. I'm not talking about the inflation rate today. So that's kind of where that model comes in. And again, these things can be modified, and I share these retirement models as well within Patreon. So you can model it any way you want. But I think over the next, say, 3 to 5 years for sure, the money printing has to continue. Then I think a lot of the fiat system around the world will collapse. And then you're going to see Bitcoin go parabolic, because that'll be the safe haven asset to own. And the writing's on the wall, and you can just sense the desperation out there within the central bank system and the traditional banking system and everything else. So just be very careful there. So the model of 6%, again, I create so many models I can't even remember half of them sometimes, but you can modify that any way you want as well, and build out your own. You can take 3%. If I look at as well at historical averages of inflation, it's like under 3% for the last 20 to 30 years, 50 years, whatever you want to take. So do it. And Michael Saylor is 15%. I am 15%, but I'm thinking about upgrading it to 20%, because I've proven, looking at macro data and household growth and some of the typical things that people actually buy, it's gone up way more than 15%. So let me see. Terran Crypto, is there a better coin available for under 5 cents than Kudos? My advice, Terran Crypto, thank you so much as well. Be very, very careful with cheap assets, things under 5 cents, things under 1 cent. People have me looking at market cap names that are in the just outside the top 500, outside the top 100. Anything is cheap, it's cheap for a reason. So I don't look at penny stocks. I don't look at penny coins. In fact, I just as an analogy with equities, people always ask me, oh, well, why is Amazon and Google and Shopify, why are they all so expensive? Because they're good. Expensive stuff is good. Like, you can go to Walmart and you can buy a pair of shorts for $8. They'll fall apart once you put them in the washing machine. Or you can buy a pair of shorts for $30 that'll last your entire lifetime. The question is, what do you want to buy? Same thing goes for crypto. If it's cheap for a reason, and look very, very carefully. It would be interesting, though, to see, I've had a lot of requests for this, if I can identify a cheap penny stock, and I have an idea of a model, but what I need is to be able to crowdsource data to help me not look deep at a whole bunch of cryptos originally, but if we could take 2 or 3 of my parameters and pull in all the data, and then help me hone in on what looks good from a tokenomics point of view, etc., shareholding, equitable distribution, vesting, then we might be able to come up with something. So let me share that actually within a group and see if we can figure out exactly what's going on. Let me see. Where do I stand with BTT? I don't even know what BTT is. And have you ever looked at a Polaris stock? No, I haven't. So Pumped Up Gaming. Hey, James. Dakota here. Thank you for your content. I started in crypto in April. I'm 26 right now. If you're 26 and starting over in the market right now, what would you do? I look at my retire on crypto video that I put out on June 22nd. $50,000 investment, June 22nd. It's up over 80 grand. The goal is to get that above $1 million by the year 2030. So if I can go from 50,000 to above 80,000 in 4 weeks, what do you think I can do in 10 years? I think $1 million is extremely conservative. And I also sandbag all my numbers. So I really look at that and look at that carefully. And again, pick quality names. I can't stress this enough. Don't go cheap. Like with anything else. Don't buy cheap shoes. Don't buy cheap cryptos. Don't buy penny stocks. It's just too dangerous, at least for me. Reno Klaus, thank you so much. Cookies for Winston. Yes. I don't know if he eats cookies. I do know what he eats, though. That's awesome. Preppy Gal, go Bitcoin, go. Yes, we'll see now. Just in talking to you guys here, took a little bit of a breather. Because, if you're running up a hill, like an Alp, you get a little flat part, and then you get your breath. And then you go up again. And I think that's kind of what's happening now with Bitcoin. So just looking at that chart, it hit 40,600, fell back down to 39.6. $1,000 swing in the time I'm talking to you guys here, and now it's gone its way back up again, up $250 in the last couple of minutes. So take a look at Meta Hero. Nope. And thank you so much as well. The Big Apple. I know your real name. Won't say it here. You're awesome. So again, remember also the rule of thumb: if something is shilled very hard, it's probably dodgy. Now, with that, everybody, I'm going to love you and leave you. I need to check my Tesla earnings in 3 minutes. It's very important to me. And I just want to give you guys a quick update. The moral of the story is don't FOMO in too much. Keep dollar cost averaging. We could have more turbulence on the horizon. So be safe. But then again, if we get above that 41,500 level, I think we're off to the races. So big thank you, everybody. And I'll see you later today. I'll be doing Engine Coin in about 3 or 4 hours. Okay. So I just want to give that quick update from now and let you guys know, hey, everything's good. Just be safe out there. And Bitcoin's gone up from 29,000 to 40,000 in 5 days, which is ridiculous. But this is why everybody just needs to always think of the big picture. And this bull market is far from over. The stock to flow is back. The 10-year Treasury is in the toilet. All roads lead to Bitcoin. And remember, Bitcoin is the new 10-year Treasury. Thank you, everybody. Be safe. Talk to you soon. Later today, in fact.